Nothing you see is real in the way we understand it. Nothing we hear is real in the way we understand it. Nothing you feel is real. And let's work together through a logic, a certain kind of reasoning, why this is a good idea to explore all this. First thing, mentioning science. For those of you who are saying, this just seems to be the silliest theories ever, and this is real. This is a punch in your face. You see how this is real? Well, for those of you who feel like that, which is a very legit way of seeing this point, I would recommend you, or I would recommend actually anyone, to have at least a superficial peek on quantum physics. Of course, the observer effect, entanglement, and how there are so many things that are proven. If you want to be scientific, if you want to go straight and talk seriously, well, you're going to find a lot of serious pointers to say, well, there is a space for saying that what we think is real is not real necessarily. So the questioning is not an assumption to things are in a different way. That's why I wouldn't subscribe to this, for example, the theory of a simulation. I think there's part of it that is true. And I think it's exciting that people are waking up to questioning the reality of their experience, but not necessarily making some other conclusions, like there's another civilization who is projecting this, or like, for example, the holographic universe theory, where basically scientists, which this is science, so this is not speculation, this is an interesting line of thinking. I think it's a great, legit exploration, but still assumes that we live in a 3D reality that is projecting from another kind of plane far, far away, which breaks, again, the concept of time and space. But I would say that's going stretching a little too much in assuming a lot of things. So if you ask me, the whole point of having this conversation actually is to be free, right? So we're not having this conversation just to have an entertaining pseudo scientific talk or sci-fi talk or stone funny fun kind of talk. It's not about that. My intention is to give you tools or pointers towards you finding actual freedom in your experience right now. So the reason why this is not as real as you think it is, if it's real at all, makes sense is because that will free you up from a lot of assumptions we're doing that are wrong. So it is worth trying it. And the way that I will add in the conversation of nothing you see is real, nothing you touch is real, all this scientific conversation about it, I would say, well, this conversation, this is not a new idea that the world is illusory, that our experience is illusory. That has been there for thousands of years. And I think it's a very important thing to notice, because there's been a lot of people who have been, through history, who have been finding out ways of figuring this out. And they actually did. So we don't need to reinvent the wheel, as much as it's interesting to have new theories. But the ultimate goal, if there has to be a goal, is to experience freedom right now, to contact reality instead of being flying in imagination and in an illusory, deceptive world. So the way that I would like you to approach this topic is from a direct experience. And how you do that? Well, let's talk about what is real. What is reality? If I tell you you're going to have one experience, whatever it is, good or bad, and then it's going to go away after 20 seconds, and then there's this other experience you normally have, which is going to be the rest of your life. What do you think is more real? This 20 seconds of something or the rest of your life? well, common sense, of course, the rest of your life is a more solid reality to it. And you say, okay, fine. What if someone would like to find what is really real, like ultimately real? What would you do? Well, we can conclude that even your life is something in the way that you understand it, in the sense of being a body and being a mind and all these things we assume. Well, that started and is going to end. So by the same logic, is not actually ultimately real. And that is a solid point, and we don't need to go into speculation. We're just trying to walk through our direct experience here now without adding anything, just trying to discern what is what. And if you start seeing all these emotions, you think this is going to happen and then it's going to go, suddenly you don't take it so seriously. Like being drunk, for example. You're going to be in a hallucination through a drug or something like that. You won't take what you perceive as real. When you wake up on the next day from the dream, you say, okay, yeah, that was a dream. Why? Because you don't experience that all the time, or most of the time that you recall. So that leaves us to questioning what is really stable, what is really always there. And that's where, in order to go farther, you need to go into what is known as meditation, which is something simple. It's just the same goal as we're discussing, trying to contact, to integrate in your direct experience what is real and what is not. And it's a very simple, logical thing to do. Whatever changes is not real. Whatever is real is real and has been always real and will be always real, is the truth. So when you approach that directly into your direct experience, the moment that it starts being liberating is the moment you start actually observing your direct experience right now, not just thinking about. There is some value in thinking, yeah, I used to think this, I used to like that, and now I don't. So that wasn't real. So probably what I think or like now is probably not real neither. Okay, yeah, there's value into that. That's more like a psychological way to go about it. Please do it if you find it useful, which certainly will be many times. But what I'm suggesting is a more direct research on this moment. So if you start noticing your body, and you may not do at this point, and you may not have trained your attention to be so stable to notice this, what I'm going to be saying now, but it is definitely what is going to happen if you honestly do your personal research on this, your direct experience. If you start noticing your body sensations, you will notice that it's basically sensations just popping in and out. They're basically unstable. We have a sensation of our body, but it's mostly an idea, actually. If you don't think your body, suddenly there's just the sensations of a body. And you say, why is that useful? In which way? Well, you see, I don't know if you see, but there has been like a very, very profound change in the way you understand your experience. Because now you don't put a boundary to it. You don't say, my body. You're just like a baby, not assuming anything, just experiencing. And suddenly, if your body is something that it comes and goes, so yeah, it's ultimately not real in some way. This is a deep exploration. I don't want you to agree with me just right away. Just want you to explore this, if this is real to you, because it requires some level of calm attention. So that's the reason why people at first will find these theories, this research a bit, I don't know, nonsensical. Obviously, no, of course, this is my body. But notice that you have to think it to experience it like that. So if you spend the time to just directly experience your body as it is right now, and you get to fine-tune your attention so much that you can notice that sensations are actually fleeting. It just goes like frames, pictures in a movie. And by all these things popping in and out like pixels, we just wrap it out and say, okay, that it is my body. This is happening to you right now. This is your actual real experience. If you have from your, without making any scientific, cultural assumption, you could have been making this 2,000 years ago without the science that we have nowadays. It will still be the same experience. It will be always the same experience for anyone ever having a body. Suddenly you realize that you attribute the sense of my body, I am this body. This is a conclusion that is just coming from not paying attention enough. So if you pay attention enough, you will see that how your body is fleeting. It's coming and going. So if you will spend a long time with this, exploring this, eventually you will come to the conclusion that, yeah, it feels like any other experience. It just comes and go, like any external experience. So you kind of sort of detach your observation from your experience of your body. And this is a very meaningful thing to do because, for example, that sets you off of derailing in speculation like you as your body is real. And you just move to a different reality like in the movie Matrix and you still have your body. Like, no, that cannot happen ever. If you had to, let's say, switch to a parallel reality like in quantum physics, everything will change. Everything. And consequently you, and consequently everything. So nothing will ever be exactly as the same. So anyway, if you start putting all these pieces out and just start researching in your direct experience how this is actually happening to you right now, not just as a thought experiment, but as an experiential research, at some point you will be sure, yes, my body's always experienced like that. You just need to not be lost in thought, being calm enough and relax into the sensation of your body long enough, which will be all very healthy and things that are going to make you feel already pretty relaxed and good. But this is just one part of the story because you will still, most people, while meditating for a long time, you will still feel that you still are kind of your mind or you observing the mind like a something that is observing it. But if you keep this process, quickly you will notice that your mind is also fleeting. That's very easy to see at first. There's a certain part of your mind, like the voices you hear in your head that come and go, certain images or memories that may come and go, or certain even, emotions that is sensitive, united your body and your mind in a way where you'll notice they come and go. So at some point you will say, okay, what's happening? What is real? What is the real you? Because everything is just coming and going all the time. And you will refine your attention. And this is where I say the realization of all this is not a theoretical speculation. It's not something you do with your mind because your mind is part of, if you want to call it, simulation or the illusory part. So the mind cannot solve this puzzle. The only way of solving this puzzle of what is real and what is not real is your direct experience. And implies investigation, not just of the external sensory world, as the science tries to do and blah, blah, blah. No, your actually experience of you right now. And you experience that enough, just discerning what it is always there. Little by little, you start concluding a different sense, a more subtle sense of what is real. And you start seeing how most of your experience, but your experience as an individual, limited self, start blurring because you know this is not so different from any other thing. So as much as this may sound, if never been exposed to this approach, may sound a little alienating, but it actually is not. It's the contrary. It's like waking up. It is realizing your experience without necessarily identifying with it. I don't know what do you get out of that? But basically, what I'm suggesting you is to, just with the simple idea, what is real, it will never change and has never changed. It's kind of a tester. So go through explore your experience in the moment, and you will find just to spoil you the end, you will find that nothing you perceive is ultimately real. It's real as an experience, in the sense of that it's just happening. It's of course part of reality, if otherwise it couldn't exist. So whatever is the illusion is made out of reality some way, otherwise it couldn't happen. But if you want to discern and understand what is reality, it has to be something that is not changing. Because if it's changing, like someone changing their minds, that's not real. That can't be real. Definition of reality is. So it should be quite a profound experiential revelation. It should, for most people, besides that, you can go through some processes where things just, you release some fears from your unconscious, and you just, a lot of things that we have trapped in there, from traumas to fear, to lose control and things like that. Once you navigate all that, ultimately everybody finds release, and you realize, everything's fine. It was just a thought. It was just an illusion, an interpretation. We thought it was real. This is real. This is real. This is real. But what is real is peace, and has always been there, like waking up from a dream. And you're there. You recognize that you have always been there. Even when you were dreaming, it wasn't otherwise. You just thought it would be, just limited yourself. You contracted your attention to a character, and you created a whole reality, a whole universe out of this identification. But if you are very, let's say, open-minded about what you are, you start noticing things. And if you do it long enough, and again, long as in time, it implies closer to something real, then you start noticing that you cannot perceive something that is ultimately real, but that doesn't mean that there's nothing real. And as abstract and maybe strange this may land on you, it is like waking up. If we were in a dream talking about waking up, it would be impossible to imagine. So here's where all this exploration leads to an end. Like, just follow the steps. If you're in a dream and you start questioning the reality of the dream, eventually, especially when you question the reality of the story you're living inside of the dream, your story as a personal story, like me, my problems, my timeline, switch happens. And that switch is very noticeable. It doesn't lead to paranoia. On the contrary, it leads to fascination, right? A lucid dream, everything starts just like, there's some kind of light to it. And that light, that you can really pinpoint where the light is coming from, but the light, there's something that is allowing you to perceive. So if you keep doing this research that I was suggesting, and you peel the onion of all this instability, impermanence, as they call it in Buddhism, at some point, well, the onion is going to go. And as they will call it in Buddhism, emptiness would be realized as, not as we normally use the word emptiness, as something negative, like there is nothing, not as nothingness, as full potential, as all parallel realities, all possibilities being already here and already now, like you are not limited by time and space. What could be more liberating than that? Well, that was deep. And if by any means I lost you at some point, I don't want you to believe me, but I just want you to consider that I'm just leaping on the shoulders of giants in here. I know it's just made in this stuff. So hopefully you find this inspiring to explore it and find your own personal revolution to discover that there's nothing personal. And that helps you embrace this experience right now fully. And find the peace that has always been there.